So I was gonna post a more controversial video, and kind of ruffle some feathers, but I figure I'll post this more like generic video. This should be sort of an evergreen take. Um, Essentially, there's been a lot of discussion about like the Matt Walshes and Michael Knowles of where they fit, or are these people content, or some of them containment, as far as like right wing politics goes. And it's pretty clear that they are, because they choose to refuse to actually engage in what the actual culture wars are. They much rather talk about like political like ends, or whatever, what have you, or being more based in trad, and guys need to man up more. Like the guys you manned up for the 500th time, man up one more time, man up more. Like it's really ridiculous. So the more men man up, the more uh oh well, I don't think men can be women, or whatever, that kind of basic take um is is all you're gonna get from the Matt Walshes and Michael Knowles kind of people. Because they won't engage actually with real cultural stuff. Like they don't want to deal with video games. They don't want to deal with comic books. They don't want to deal with any of this kind of stuff like anime. All of it is like that's that's lowbrow. That isn't relevant at all. Well, meanwhile, anime like is making like mega billions like every year. So this brings me to the point that I guess in the recent Twitter thread, I was discussing with someone, saying essentially the right wing containment is to get you to focus on working more and being more based in trad. And while that's well and good, um we do need like people who are fighting culturally to engage with people, and get people interested in a right wing culture. And what is like that brings us to a question, like what is a right wing culture kind of look like? And I think of it's very basic, but something akin to Andy Griffith to some degree, like having something like that, like where um it shows, maybe there need to be like shows based around family, around around basic principles of understanding, that like maybe like not hating your fellow man, like around helping people, a lot of the humanitarian sort of right wing causes of trying to help people, and preserving families. Those are sort of the good aspects of the right wing that you can highlight, that you can put into. Uh, there's been a lot of talk about a certain anime, and I've never watched it, because I'm not interested in those kind of animes. I like battle anime, but apparently it was called like Spy X Family, and people were like even left wingers are like saying like, "Whoa, this makes me want to like get married and have kids." Like yeah, well, if it shows good at presenting to you, instead of presenting you, every show now presents a dysfunctional family. Um every cultural norm and everything presents dysfunctional families, broken families, and all this kind of stuff. But if you really want to convey those values, you need to push it through the culture. I mean, even a lot of shows back in the day, I think, were more like whatever, Tim the Toolman Taylor, like that kind of thing. Like that's presenting a decent family structure. All although albeit a little bit wacky, but like these kind of shows would show you what it's like to have a basic, united family structure. I mean, Leave It to Beaver, all this kind of stuff. Um, and then now, essentially, all those kind of shows and all that kind of like that kind of aspect of the right is basically dead because the left won all the media, they won all that stuff, and then now we've just kind of been siloed off to do our own thing. And in doing so, it seems like they got the left got their way because now the right wing basically just completely disengages, like lets them win, and says, "Well, you know what? It doesn't matter. Like those things don't have an influence." Meanwhile, um, Marvel movies rake in billions per year. Uh, Video games rake in billions per year, and these are way more relevant. Like video games, like, making a lot of money, having a lot of eyes on those games, way more influential than some goofy guy on the internet talking about like, oh, well, did you see what the left did today? Way more influential. Video game streamers, way more influential than Matt Walsh will ever want to be. Not because Matt Walsh may get more eyes on it, but a lot of them are hate watchers because he says like right wing stuff or whatever, politically. Um, and this is why sometimes I haven't been doing it a lot lately. But why I like to do game streams, and I don't really. I mean, unless somebody wants to talk about talking about politics, I will. But I just mostly just focus on the games and playing those and discussing that because I think that's going to be way more impactful if anyone actually watches it. Um, but that's going to be way more impactful because if they connect with someone like me playing games, and then they hear sort of maybe they hear some stuff from me, they will probably be more receptive to those kind of ideas. Um, and not to say that like and there are a lot of people who are younger people who are being influenced by these streamers, and that's usually for the negative. But I do think that if you had somebody positive for them to view, like someone who actually wasn't a terrible person, for them to like watch play games, I don't think that would be necessarily a bad thing. Um, a lot of people will instantly go to some kind of deranged links of like, well, you know, you know, I don't know. Like people don't understand. We're living in current day. You can't go back. You can't rewind the tape. Like this is why you have to play the game this way. The terms have been set. The terms of this, and if you get nothing else from this video, I want you to get this. Basically, from all perspectives, view this as a chessboard, and the way that all the pieces have already been set. You can't go back, you can't rewind, you can't undo things that have already been done. You can only move forward from this point on. Like this is the state of the board. This is where we have to work. Um, you know, you've got to figure out some way to come from behind victory and win somehow. And so look at the way it's moving now, the way that it's set up now, that the cultural impact is based on video game streamers, based on um cultural content like movies and video games, all this kind, and still music, but not music is less relevant I think now than movies and video games, but definitely music is still impacted if you can create someone who's good music and actually en- engages positively, um, as opposed to being a negative icon like that. and I'm not saying icon, like not really that you should idolize these people, but definitely like these people are going to be the ones that are propagated, like that are mainstreamed. I guess that's more like, okay, who's going to be mainstream, and sort of made into the public eye. And we need more people. Like we need more people on the right doing these things. And if you don't, you can be resigned to lose infinitely, because this is the winning game. Uh, there there's infinitely more impact that from one Asmongold stream or whatever than any amount of commentaries from Matt Walsh or Michael Knowles, because he can say things in that live stream. There are, people who are coming up, coming of age, that are watching this streamer, and you say you can say, well, you should ban them from watching those streamers. Well, okay, whatever. I don't care. People, kids want to watch these people play games because they're good at the games, and they have a lot of knowledge about the games, and so they're going to watch these people, and then these people are going to transfer their political beliefs, or whatever, what have you, onto the children, especially whenever the parents aren't as involved. So obviously, being a parent, you have to be involved, but definitely you should want to have positive cultural figures for them to look at. We used to have a lot of those kind of things, kind of like the Andy Griffith, this kind of stuff, like what I'm saying. But just imagine, we have our side of that, like, a right wing streamer that does, that it promotes these kind of values, sort of, and propagates that kind of impact, and then also, you know people who create, movies and games around these kind of ideas, and then that actually pushes people in that direction, because people are starving for this kind of like content, because they're looking at what's going on now, and they're like, well, this is not sustainable, and this is not working. So what do we do, and how do we move forward? So I think that the more that you fight this, the more that you try to look at it completely strictly from the political. I don't think that the culture is necessarily going to, like, even if you create some alternative institutions, that it's going to push everything in that direction. I don't think if you just make a right wing video game that it's just going to blow up. I think you have to make a good product, and then hope that things kind of transcend from there. Like things go forward from that way. It's always going to be about quality on a lot of these things. So um, so you have to somehow mainstream all of these ideas, and to do that, I don't think that just going the route of being a YouTuber commentating on political topics only, and telling men to like man up more and do all this kind of stuff, is going to actually have an impact on people who want to be receptive to these kind of ideas. So it's definitely something that you're gonna have to like weave into something that people are um, engaging with, and the more that they engage with this, then a lot of people are malleable enough that they'll adopt those ideas of the things that they enjoy. And so that's the idea here, is that you create something that people enjoy, and they're going to be more receptive to these ideas, and then they're going to become malleable enough to absorb those ideas, and then integrate them into their own life. But that's just the perspective that I have on this, and that was a little bit longer than I would have wanted, but I belabor my points, unfortunately. But hopefully, you got something out of it. There definitely needs to be more work on this front. Um, I I don't know if I can do my part. I'm trying to do what I can, but if if anybody wants to check out my channels, you're welcome to. I may occasionally do game streams and stuff from time to time. Um, but what can we do? We had to figure out some way to move forward with this, and I think this is the only winning strategy that we have. That's all I have for this video. If you've enjoyed this, please hit like, subscribe to the channel. Also, check all the links in the description for everything else that I have. And this is Trey for Trey's Think Tank, signing out.